Does it have to be in the mic box when we start?
Nothing Unitarians like better than opinions.
That's an understatement.
3 Unitarians and 5 opinions.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right.
It's
Like all denominations, we have our strengths and our weaknesses.
I was an administrator at universities for 17 years, and talking about people with opinions as faculty. They have very brilliant people. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, that's the problem when you get heard people who think they're brilliant. They all think they have better ideas than anybody else, and or they're right and everybody else is wrong.
Tom did not ring that dinger, did he?
Oh no! I want to look because I'm going to sit there and do the children's story. And but I'll put it back there. I'll put it back there.
You sure? Okay. Good morning. You know, as Unitarians, we go with the flow, and we're seeing how well you tolerate a little confusion. Now, we also side on the, we come down on the side of love. So at 11:45, when you see some people come in looking puzzled, just be kind to them. We invite you to take your seats and prepare yourself for this morning's service. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Columbia on behalf of the Worship Committee. My name is Phil Turner. Today, our very special guest speaker is the Reverend Neal Jones. Reverend Dr. Neal Jones is a clinical psychologist for the Pisgah Institute in Asheville, North Carolina, but through the miracle of Zoom, he lives in Columbia. Born and raised in North Carolina, he earned his BA in political science from Wake Forest University, where he was a summa cum laude graduate. He earned his master's degree in divinity from Southeastern Seminary and his doctorate in psychology from Baylor University. He has served as the minister of 5 congregations in North and South Carolina, Texas, and in Pennsylvania, including the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Columbia for 11 years. He also served as chair of the National Board of Trustees of the Americans United for Separation of Church and State, of which he has been a member for 25 years. Now we invite you, looking where the camera is, to join our services for YouTube or Zoom. Whether you participate online or in person, we warmly welcome everyone. We email a weekly newsletter with more information about the UUCC and our events. Please make sure that we have your email address. Our website, Facebook, and Instagram pages will also help you keep up with ongoing and upcoming events. For families with children, we certainly welcome you and want to let you know that childcare during our service is available for infants and children up to the age of 4. For children from 4 to 7 years old and their caregivers, we have a designated seating area at the back of the sanctuary. You are welcome to bring toys from the back of the social hall to the special seating area for quiet play. If you want to be a child care volunteer, please speak with Bethany Storlazzi. Today, children over 4 will transition to CYRE activities and after the story for all ages. Please silence all devices and listen to the prelude.
Our prelude this morning is called Searching for Answers by a first-generation Armenian-American composer named Diane Gulkasian Rabi.
Thank you, Anna. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in the congregational covenant, which you can find in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. Held together in peace to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant with one another. Please be seated. Unitarian Universalism is a diverse and non-creedal religion. Our community is founded on deeds, not creeds. We are a covenantal religion, meaning we don't have to believe the same to treat each other the same, with respect, equity, compassion, and dignity. We place love at the center of our values, embracing and welcoming all people. We are delighted to welcome all guests and visitors today. Richard McLeod, would you come up and run the microphone for us, sir? Visitors, please wait for the microphone, and when it's your turn, please share your name and where you are from. If you have guests, feel free to introduce them as well. Anybody a visitor? Brave visitor?
A lot further to walk this time.
Hello, my name is Mills, and I'm from here in Columbia. Or
right.
I'm from Conway, but I live here.
Thank you. Welcome.
I see point, yes.
Hi, I'm Mary Martin, and this is my friend Sally from Port Charlotte.
Hi, very happy to be here with you all today. I converted Mary many years ago. I was head of membership and brought her into UU.
Yeah, yay.
Good morning. I'm Alan Jones. I'm a longtime fan of Neal Jones. Long time. 20 years, maybe 30, I don't know, maybe longer than that. Yeah. But anyway, I'm here to listen to him give us the word today.
And I want to recognize someone who's not a visitor, who's been away for a while because of some serious medical challenges. Jenny Verne, we're glad to have you back today. Please stand. Please stand.
Oh.
And I'm not done till I'm done, huh? Yeah.
Trying to make sure Richard gets enough Hi, I'm Diane Williams, and I actually was a member with my mother a long, long, long time ago, and not at this building, but down by, yeah.
By Olympia.
Welcome.
All right, good for you. Going, going.
See another hand somewhere? Okay. I see pointing fingers. Make sure. What?
Thank you,
Still see
Richard.
pointing fingers.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're delighted to welcome all our guests and visitors today. If you want to find more information about the UUCC, there's a card, there should be, in the back of the seat in front of you. Please fill that out, put it in the collection plate, and we'll follow up with email about our forthcoming events. Today's cellist later is Bill Dolly. Spirit of light and life, come unto us. Thank you, Bill.
I invite you to join in singing our opening hymn in your gray hymnal number 353, Golden Breaks the Dawn. Please rise in body or spirit to join in singing.
Oh, yeah, very good, Mark. Yeah. We'll make some room up here. You don't know that up here, do you?
I can't sing, so you do it.
I need my glasses. Which one was singing? This one. I don't know that.
Please be seated. And now we invite Reverend Neal Jones and the children to come forward for a story for all ages.
Hey there. Oh, it's good to see you this morning. Somebody even came in a bus. That's great. Come on in. Come and sit down. How many of y'all have heard of a character named Humpty Dumpty? Raise your hand. Have you heard of a Humpty Dumpty? Oh, right. Well, a lot of us have heard of Humpty Dumpty. You know, he fell from a wall, but we don't know what happened to him after the fall. So this book tells us after the fall. We're going to find out what happened after the fall. My name is Humpty Dumpty. Now, this was my favorite spot, high up on this wall. Now, I know it's an odd place for an egg to be, but I love being close to the birds. Then one day I fell. I'm sort of famous for that part. Folks call it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand. It was just an accident, but it changed my life. Now look, that's a real tall wall, isn't it? And he used to sit up there, and that's what he fell from. Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together. You notice he went to Kings County Hospital. Well, most of me, he says, there are some parts that could not be healed with bandages and glue. You know, some things like fear and embarrassment, bandages don't cover those. Well, after that day, I became afraid of heights. I was so scared, it kept me from enjoying some of my favorite things, like going to the grocery store and getting up to the cereal on the high shelves, for instance. Yeah. Well, I walk past that wall every day, and I think about climbing that ladder again. I really miss the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it because I knew that accidents can happen again. So there's Humpty Dumpty walking very sadly past that high wall of which he was afraid. I eventually settled for just watching the birds from the ground. It wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then one day, an idea flew by. And that idea, you can see here maybe, is a paper airplane. And it gave him an idea. Well, making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches. But day after day, I kept trying and trying. I didn't realize making paper planes could be so hard. I thought so too. I kept trying until I finally got it right. Now look at the plane he made. It looks like a real bird almost, doesn't it? Yeah. That is some fancy paper plane, isn't it? Isn't it? Did you see that? Well, my plane was perfect, and it flew like nothing could stop it. I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. It wasn't the same as being up in the sky with the birds, but it was close, and you can see his paper plane flying all over the sky. It looks just like a bird, doesn't it? What a fancy plane that was. Unfortunately, accidents happen. Look how surprised he looks. I wonder what happened. Well, let's see what happened. Let's see. Accidents always do, and you're right. His bird plane flew on top of that high wall. Okay, so you don't give it away. Well, I almost walked away again, but then I thought about all the time I had spent making that plane and all the other things I had missed. I decided I was going to climb that wall, that tall ladder up the wall. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it, but I was terrified. But he's climbing that wall despite his fear. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing, one step at a time. You know, when you're afraid, taking just one step at a time is probably a good strategy. I kept climbing and climbing until I was no longer afraid. Look, he made it to the top of the wall. No longer afraid. He did it. So maybe now you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully you'll remember me as the egg who got back up. Now look at these pictures here. Humpty Dumpty's got some cracks forming in his eggshell, and it looks almost like feathers coming out of those cracks of Humpty Dumpty. I wonder what's happening. Maybe now you won't think of me as the egg who was famous for falling. Boof! Look! Birds' wings are popping out of Humpty Dumpty. He's a bird egg. I think you got it right. Maybe you won't remember as the egg who fell, but as the egg who learned to fly. And there he is, flying away. The end. Well, now you know, Humpty Dumpty's right. There are a lot of problems that are just handed to us by life. We don't choose them. But there are some problems we choose to have. Humpty Dumpty didn't have to climb that wall, but he chose to. Why? Because he wanted to get that plane at the top of the wall, and he wanted to overcome his fear. He chose his problem. That's one thing we can do in life. We don't always get to choose our problems, but sometimes we do. But why do we choose certain problems? Because we want to have certain things in our life. We want to go certain places. So, my wish for you and all of us is that you choose problems that will help you become the kind of person you want to be in life. That's my wish for all of us. Well, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you so much. And now I think we get to sing you guys out to your class. Am I right? Okay, here we go.
The words are in your order of service. Learn your lessons well, my children. Seek your truth in the wide unknown. Love each other, work together, and search for wisdom and happiness.
Dr. Jones will give us our opening words.
Our opening words are from someone you've heard before, Abraham Maslow. At any given moment, we have two options: to step forward in growth or to step back in safety.
We're going to hear from our Melody Smith with some thoughts on this I value. Melody?
Good morning. This is cool. It's a new perspective. First of all, I wanted to say a heartfelt thanks to Jim Kimbler and the Finance Committee who asked me to say some words this morning about what I value about UUCC. That was very gracious, and I'm such a new member. It'll be my 3rd anniversary of being a member of UUCC this spring at the membership committee meeting, and that will happen. So I know that some of you think, she has been around here a lot longer than that. She's been around here forever. Sometimes it feels like that to me as well. But honestly, when I was trying to think, I had a month or so to think about what I value about this congregation, this building, this community of people that I'm fortunately belong to. And it was difficult to narrow down, to distill down what it is, because there's so many things to value in this community. But I started to think about getting your money's worth out of things, right? We go to the store and we try to do our shopping and get the most out of the money that we have in our budget, or we apply that principle to all kinds of things in our lives. And I wonder if we always think about that when it comes to the pledge money that we send in. And it hit me. I never begrudge a dollar that comes into this congregation. I'm always happy for my pledge money to go out because I value what we do with it. We do great things with the money that comes into this congregation. Not only do we help one another inside the walls of our institution, but we also reach out to the community and do wonderful things. And we could not do that without the money that we gather every month or every year. Some of you do your pledge on a yearly basis. And that's really such a value. I really feel like I get my money's worth from UUCC. Sometimes a little more money's worth than I want, but but honestly, seriously, I never think, Jesus, it's time to send it. I never feel that way. I always feel very confident about what we do with our money and the stewardship of the money that comes into this place and what we do with it. And the last thing that I wanted to say about value is, if these walls were gone, or if something happened and things would change, you people are still here. You are the value in this place. It's not the walls, it's not the chairs, it's not how pretty, the paint is, any of those kinds of things. It's you, those of you who have been here for a long time and have opened up walls and expanded this building to make it bigger, or those of you who remodeled the kitchen, or those of you who've expanded into the classrooms, all of those things, all of the people who have come before young members like me, not young in age, but young in membership years, all of you who have done all of that work, I wouldn't have a place to come to if it wasn't for all of you. So I value that very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. If you have a personal joy, sorrow, or concern to share from this pulpit, please email or text our minister by noon on Friday. You can also pick up a candle in the foyer before the service to share in person. We'd like to remind you that our caring committee members wear yellow name tags and are available for those in need. If you have a candle, please briefly share your joy or sorrow now.
Good morning. I'm Janice. February was a rough month. And had I been up here a few weeks ago to be able to light the candle, it would have been a candle of concern for my husband, for Chuck, for numerous other individuals that have been ailing right now. But I was able to take a moment and reflect and realize that it was also 7 years ago in February that I came out of my coma, that I was able to sit up on the side of my own bed and deal with my own healing journey. And now I can recognize that this is a candle of joy and appreciation that I made it and that my loved ones made it as well. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Bud Ashley. Thanks, Janice. About a year ago, my wife Chuck started having terrible headaches, and we've been going to doctors for the whole of last year, trying to find a way to stop them. And in November, she got put on a medicine that really stopped her headaches, and it was wonderful. And she took that. It was a shot, and she took it in November and in December. And then when it was time to get the medicine for January, we find out that Medicare no longer is going to cover it for us. And so Chuck's terrible headaches have resumed. She has headaches 15 to 18 hours every day, up at night, all during the day. It's horrible, and this medicine is more than we can afford. So it's a great concern, because I think this is possibly what triggered her hemorrhage, her brain hemorrhage. And then we're supposed to be relieving stress in our lives, because both of us have high blood pressure, and I have a heart condition. And this morning, a bombshell got dropped on us. Her mother, who is in Alzheimer's and in Rice Estates, fell last night and broke her ankle. And she's very confused and is going to have surgery. She just got out of the hospital from having an AFib attack. And then her dad, who has been suffering great pain, can't recover from the pneumonia that he got, has been wanting to die. He suddenly just went delirious last night. And we're hoping and praying, asking the spirits, the universe, whatever you do, to come get Bob and Jesse Sargent and take them home. They want to go together. They need to go. And that's our great concern right now, that if they could go home, the stress would come off of the family a lot more. And we all need that. So we're praying for Bob and Jesse to go home. Thank you.
This candle is a candle of sorrow for a family friend of over 40 years that passed away Tuesday night. She's 93 years old, and her daughter had the habit of getting in bed and sleeping with her, because her mom would wander at night, and her daughter would wake up and hear her get out of bed and bring her back. And her daughter got into bed Monday night, and her mother just took her by the hand, and they fell asleep that way. And in the morning, her mother was gone. So when you go in your sleep holding fast to the one you love, that you can't ask for anything more than that. So, but this is for Kay Martin. I love you, girl, and sleep well until your next life.
Finally, we light one candle for all the unspoken joys and concerns. Let's pause for a moment to ponder on these joys and concerns. This congregation proudly participates in our Share the Plate initiative, where half of our cash collections every Sunday is donated to a local charity. It's our way of giving back and supporting our community. If you'd like to contribute to Share the Plate, please write Share the Plate in the memo line of your check or on the envelope, the donation envelope. Thank you for your generosity. This month's Share the Plate recipient is the Congaree River Keeper, and we're welcoming Bill Stangler to speak on his behalf. Bill?
Thank you very much. First time got my name right, a little bit better than Reverend Stephen. Throwing him under the bus, he's not even here. Good morning, yous. My name is Bill Stangler. I am your Congaree River Keeper. I'm so happy to be here, not just to be part of Share the Plate, but to really thank this congregation for the tremendous support that you guys have given to our organization over the years, supporting our work to protect clean water and healthy rivers, work that is more critical now than it has ever been. If you're not familiar with Congaree River Keeper, real briefly, we are a local grassroots nonprofit, a very small nonprofit, in that I'm the only staff person right now, that works to protect the rivers. So we do everything from organizing cleanups and collecting water quality samples to working on policy and advocacy work at the local, state, and federal level to dragging polluters into federal court. If you want a little bit of an idea of what we do, I'll tell you just some of the things I've been working on in like the last maybe week and a half, 2 weeks. In the last 10 to 14 days, we've organized a creek cleanup that pulled hundreds of pounds of trash out of a local waterway. We released our annual sewer spill report that works to highlight problems with sewage impacting our waterways and hold those responsible accountable for it. We participated in Conservation Lobby Day at the State House, where we advocated for common sense environmental policies with our state elected officials. We reviewed and then published hundreds of pages of documents identifying problems at the Scout Motors construction site. It's your money at work, people, in multiple ways. We kicked off a new plastic pollution sampling program that will be something we'll be talking about and you'll hear more about in the future. And even just yesterday, went out for what I thought would be a simple river patrol, found a pollution runoff problem at the KC Quarry, and posted about it on Facebook and spent hours, including this morning, arguing with people over why companies shouldn't just be allowed to dump things in the river. I thought that was common sense. That is just a little bit of the work that we do over maybe the last 14 days. If you want to learn more about that, please sign up for our newsletter, go to our website, follow us on social. But that's the type of work that you guys enable us to do to protect our waters, because at the end of the day, these rivers and these creeks and these streams, they belong to each and every one of us, and together we can work to protect them. So again, thank you so much for your support.
Will the ushers please come forward for our collection?
So I tend to process my emotions through music. And in reference to the candle that I just lit, there is a fragility about being in the hospital, a vulnerability. And you are not in control of yourself. And as loved ones, it's hard to go through. And so this song was written by Gwyneth Paltrow's husband from Coldplay when her father passed. And he felt helpless to be able to help her. It's called Fix You, but I'm changing the words to Heal You because I think it's more appropriate. When you try your best, but you don't succeed. When you get what you want, but not what you need. When you feel so tired that you can't sleep. Stuck in reverse. And the tears come streaming down your face. When you lose something you can't replace. When you love someone but it goes to waste. Could it be worse? Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to heal you. High up above and down below. When you're too in love to let it go. But if you never try, you'll never know just what you're worth. Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to heal you. Tears stream down your face when
We sincerely appreciate these gifts, which reflect the generosity and kindness of our community. Reverend Jones?
Well, it seems like old times to be up here on the original stage again. But I have to admit, it seems a little odd to be in a Unitarian Universalist congregation with a right wing. Seems weird. Pat Moore, I didn't think I'd ever call you a right winger. Once upon a time, long ago in the Himalayan foothills, a king had a son that he was determined to spare from any experience of suffering. The king built high walls around the palace to prevent the prince from knowing the suffering of the rest of the world. Inside the palace walls, servants catered to the child's every wish and whim, lavishing him with food and gifts. But after several years, the boy grew bored and restless. No matter how much he was given, it never seemed enough. Everything and every experience seemed empty. So late one night, the prince snuck out of the palace to see what lay beyond the palace walls. He had a servant drive him through the local village, and what he saw horrified him. For the first time in his life, the prince saw sick people, homeless people, people in pain, and people dying. For the first time, he saw suffering. And it changed the way he saw life, including his own life. All of his riches now seemed meaningless. And the prince concluded that the lifestyle of the rich and famous he was living was making him miserable. So he ran away, not only from the palace itself, but from his privileged royal lifestyle. He gave up his family, his status, his possessions, and lived in the streets. He begged for scraps of food and lived with hunger, disease, loneliness, and pain. He fully embraced a life of suffering. Eventually, he came to realize that what many of us have long known, that suffering sucks. He discovered that suffering without a purpose is as meaningless as living the high life without a purpose. So having experienced the extremes of life, the prince cleaned himself up and found a big tree near a river. He decided he would sit under that tree until he could make some sense of life. And as legend has it, he meditated under that tree for 49 days, at the end of which he came to this conclusion, that life is full of suffering. Now, whether you're rich or poor, popular or detested, attractive or ugly, an American or a Korean, a fan of the Eagles or the Chiefs, pain and loss are inevitable in your life. And trying to deny, avoid, or resist them only makes your suffering worse. You may have heard of this prince. He would later become known as the Buddha, the enlightened one. Now, the American version of Buddhism is summed up by that Gilda Radner character in the original cast of Saturday Night Live, Rosanna Dana. It's always something. Life is one problem after another. The rich have problems with their money. The poor have problems with their poverty. People with family have family problems. People without families have individual problems. People with dogs have dog problems. People with cats have cat problems. People with cars have car problems. People who walk have foot problems. Now, that's not to say that all problems are equal, but the fact remains that life is full of problems. The Buddha and Rosanna are basically making a philosophical observation about life. But there's an evolutionary observation to be made as well about why life is full of suffering. As a species, we human beings have evolved the capacity to feel continual dissatisfaction and insecurity because dissatisfaction and insecurity motivate us to work, explore, innovate, push the limits, put ourselves out there, take some action that will enhance our survival. We are hardwired to become dissatisfied with whatever we have and to seek satisfaction in what we do not have. That's why the prince's boredom and restlessness, not despite of his riches and privileges, but because of them, ring true. Because of his boredom and restlessness, he went beyond the walls of his comfort, literally and spiritually. This innate dissatisfaction has kept our species striving and struggling, conquering and building. It's enabled us to survive. So seen in this light, pain takes on new meaning. Now, we typically view pain as bad, as something to avoid at all costs. In fact, for many of us, the perfect life would be perfectly free of pain and free of problems. But pain is our teacher, and problems are our motivator. Our nervous system evolved the capacity to register pain for our own survival. When we stub our toe on that coffee table, we're more likely to walk around it with a wider berth next time. Or when we touch that hot stove, we're more likely to use the microwave next time. And pain is not merely physical, of course. We also evolved the capacity to feel psychological pain, which also enhances our survival. In fact, and I find this fascinating, research has found that our brains register psychological pain the same as physical pain. In MRI scans, the same areas of the brain that are activated for physical pain are also activated for psychological pain. In fact, I suspect that the word brokenhearted entered our vocabulary because the experience of loss can sometimes feel like your heart is literally breaking. So, feeling the emotions of sadness, loneliness, guilt, shame, anger, and so forth is like stubbing our toe or touching a hot stove. These emotions teach us to avoid making the same mistakes next time. Of course, it's not fun experiencing pain, whether it's physical or psychological, which is why many of us characteristically avoid pain in at least 4 ways. One way is through denial. Some of us sometimes deny our problems by minimizing them or just plain pretending they don't exist. It's a convenient way of ignoring reality. And it may make us feel good for a while and even work in the short term, but reality will catch up with us eventually. A second way of avoiding pain is through distraction. Some of us sometimes distract ourselves from our problems by pointing our attention to something else which has nothing to do with our problems. And the better our distractions feel, the easier it is to become distracted. Distractions can be anything, as simple as spending too much time on Facebook, to something as complicated as having a baby to save a marriage. If our distractions do a really good job of numbing our pain and making us forget our problems, they can become addictions. substances or activities which reliably help us avoid reality. Anything can become addictive, even normally healthy things, like exercise or meditation. The problem with distractions, while okay in small doses, is that the longer we avoid our problems and numb our pain, the more painful it will be when we finally confront our issues. A third way we avoid pain is through blame. Some of us sometimes blame others or our circumstances for our problems. Whether the blame is justified or not, blame makes us feel good because it shifts our focus from our responsibility for dealing with our problems to making a judgment about who or what is responsible for our problems, who's at fault. Now, unless you're in a court of law, making such judgments is helpful only to the extent that they lead you to take some action to solve your problem. At the end of the day, we are left with the responsibility of addressing our problems, however they were created and whoever created them. And a fourth way that we avoid our pain is through victimhood. Playing the victim takes blame to a whole new level. Now, some of us sometimes play the role of victim because, like blame in all its forms, it absolves us from taking responsibility for our problems. And many people who regularly play this role do so because they were victimized earlier in life. And so it's a role that feels familiar and even comfortable. It's a role with a narrow field of vision. Perpetual victims see others as powerful and in control and see themselves as helpless. Unfortunately, their sense of helplessness holds them back from taking the necessary steps to solve their problems. Playing the victim is, unfortunately, self-reinforcing because it feels good. It feels good to be full of righteous indignation over the way someone has mistreated you, whether the mistreatment was real or imagined. Again, righteous indignation is useful only if it leads to taking some action to solve your problem. So, life is a series of problems, which we shouldn't avoid because they have the potential to teach us. Now, we may not like the pain which often comes with problems, but you don't have to like something in order to face it and deal with it. The Buddha taught us, and our experience confirms, that resisting the inevitable suffering of life only creates more suffering. Dodging our problems only works in the short run. Reality always has the last word. It always does. Besides, if you spend your days avoiding what is painful and uncomfortable, you'll also spend your life avoiding your life. But you and I don't want to hear that. In fact, we don't believe it. We optimistic Americans who, compared to the rest of the world, live within the walls of our privileged palace, we believe that the purpose of life is to be happy. And to be happy means that you achieve a pain-free and problem-free life. We believe that happiness is something that can be worked for and earned and achieved. Once I graduate with that degree, then I'll be happy. Once I meet the right person, then I'll live happily ever after. Once I get that job or that promotion, then I'll be set for life. Once I buy that house in that neighborhood, then I'll be somebody. Once I make X amount of dollars, then I will have arrived. Once I get my weight down to X pounds, then I will feel good about myself. Some have called this American pursuit of happiness the hedonic treadmill, from the word hedonism. We're constantly working hard to pursuing the next thing that promises to make us happy. But once we get it, sooner or later, we find ourselves dissatisfied again. So over the palace walls we go, chasing that next high, the never-ending hedonic treadmill. We treat happiness as if it were something to be discovered, owned, attained, or achieved once and for all. But happiness is a process. It involves struggle. It involves facing and solving our problems. Think about it. This is what we mean when we say that we're in the flow. To be in the flow means to be fully immersed, fully engaged, fully absorbed in an activity. And your engagement energizes you and makes you feel alive. It makes you feel happy. So happy that you lose track of time and you cease being worried about the opinions of others or your own self-judgments. And that activity is typically the facing of a challenge or solving a problem. Think about those moments in your life. When I look back on my life, one of the happiest times of my life was a time when my life was full of challenges and problems. I had decided to leave my profession as a minister and go back to graduate school to become a psychologist. I was going to classes each week, reading, studying, doing research, writing papers, and being tested in an area of study that was new to me. At the same time, I was working 20 hours a week in a clinical setting, providing services and being evaluated constantly. At the same time, I was working as the part-time minister of a new congregation I had discovered of this religion I had not heard of before. It sounded like a cult. Unitarian Universalism. At the same time, my wife and I had bought our first house, which I was trying to maintain while also maintaining our relationship and managing our finances as my student loan debt grew larger and larger. I look back on that time in my life now, and I don't know how I made it. I was so busy. I was so tired. I was dealing with one problem after the other. And I was fully immersed, fully engaged, fully absorbed in the moment. I was in the flow. Yes, I was stressed and stretched, but I was also happy. True happiness comes from struggle. It grows from facing and solving problems. Now, we want the result without the process, the reward without the struggle, the victory without the fight. We think we can have the view from the summit without having to climb the mountain. But happiness comes from climbing the mountain. People who enjoy good health and a healthy physique willingly choose to work out, calculate calories, and eat the right kinds of food in the right amounts. People who enjoy their careers willingly choose to put in the long hours at work and navigate office politics. People who enjoy their relationships willingly choose to engage in the tough, honest conversations, to sacrifice their self-centeredness and commit themselves to the well-being of the relationship. People who enjoy their church willingly choose to engage in the honest, tough conversations to sacrifice their self-centeredness, and to commit themselves to the well-being of the community. The more meaningful question is not what will make me happy, but what pain am I willing to sustain? What problems am I willing to face and solve? If I can answer those questions, the question of my happiness will answer itself. Those wise teachers, the Buddha and Rosanna Dana, they were right. Problems are going to come, one after the other, our entire lives. So the spiritual challenge is to choose our problems as much as we're able, to focus on and to solve. If I want good health, then I have to deal with the problems of making time to go to the gym, of working up a sweat, and denying myself certain foods. If I decide that good health is not that important to me, I have to face another set of problems. Looking like a potato, taking longer to walk up a flight of stairs, visiting my doctor more often, taking more pills, and dealing with my health insurance. And the solution to today's problems lays the foundation for tomorrow's problems. You solve the problem of earning your degree, then you get to solve the problem of finding a job and climbing the ladder of your career. You solve the problem of finding Mr. or Ms. Right, then you get to solve the problem of building a marriage, getting a divorce and starting over again. Problems never stop. They just merely get exchanged for another set of problems or upgraded to another set of problems. So, you might as well choose the problems that advance your values. On Pledge Sunday, for instance, we talk about how the way we spend our money reflects our values. Well, the problems we choose to face also reflect what is important to us. We are defined by what we are willing to struggle for. Let me repeat that. We are defined by what we are willing to struggle for. Now, we like the idea that there's some form of ultimate happiness that can be attained. We like the idea that we can eliminate our suffering permanently. We like the idea that we can feel fulfilled and satisfied for our lives forever. But we can't. Life simply doesn't work that way. Instead of engaging in wishful thinking, we would do better to ask ourselves, what am I willing to struggle for? Happiness is not waiting for us on the mountaintop. It's found in the climbing. Amen.
Our closing hymn is in the gray hymnal, number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath. I invite you to stand in body or spirit to join in singing.
No, you got it.
Oh, yeah. That was great. Thank you.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I may
Tell them I said yes to love.
Our closing words are from someone you've heard before who wrote The Meaning of Suffering, Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in that response lies our growth and our freedom. Amen.
Please be seated. As we extinguish the chalice at the close of our time today, may its light gently warm our hearts and guide our steps until we gather together again.
I invite you to join in singing our congregational benediction. May the blessings of truth be upon us. May the power of God direct us. And may the peace of this community sustain us till we meet again.
Please be seated. Our time has come to a close together. Before you leave, please take a few minutes to welcome those around you, and especially our visitors. If you have children attending CYRE, don't forget to go get them. Thank you.
Do we do announcements? I'm not sure how we were handling that these days. Oh, that's good. Sometimes